like you to take a photo first, Vince. And Vince, we'd like to invite you to say a few words if you are keen on doing so.
Few words. Yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody being here for our portion of this evening. And before we get started, if there's any leftover chicken, my sister at table 10 there. The waiters and waitresses, they all know their path to table 10 now. You know, first thing I noticed when I came in this building tonight is how fit most people look. And I feel right at home. I'm curious though, is there anybody in this building that knew my grandfather, Bud Clark? No, okay, well, my grandfather didn't really talk about skiing with us. It was basically, when my mother was born is when he was starting the Olympics. And when I was born, he was ending them. And he was very modest, so he would spend his time being a grandfather. They lived on the hill of Camp Fortune, at the top of Skyline. Next door was Hegteveit. Anne Hegteveit is one of our cousins, and we still speak to Anne, she lives in Vermont. And he, at one point early on in his career, he and brother Cecil and some friends built a place called Ski School, and they spelt it S-K-U-L-L, or S-K-U-L. It was on the Meech Lake Road. I'm not sure where, because one winter there was too much snow and the whole thing collapsed, and that was the end of that. They ended up with a cottage at Meech Lake. Meech Lake Cottage is one of those places where anybody in this room could walk in and feel at home. So on the way up there, we would stop at the Little White store here in Chelsea. They used to have a gas pump, and my grandmother would bring me in so I could get one of their homemade butter tarts. I'd walk out, they were so good, my grandmother would walk out with a case of beer. Every time. At their cottage, the game wardens back then, they weren't really too strict. They would stop at my grandfather's cottage every morning on their way down lake to have coffee, and every night on the way back to have a few beers. And I remember it was Howard Morris and Bob. The Prime Minister, Pierre Trudeau, used to stop right on the road from my grandfather's cottage to talk to him. And then I yelled, "Oh, hi, Pierre." And my grandfather kicked me in the butt so hard. If you didn't know my grandfather, you folks may have known the skier. But we knew, you know, there's a lot of good skiers. And I think it's the person behind the skier that's important. We never saw our grandfather get mad, yell at anybody. We never saw anybody angry at him, like ever. Not even my grandmother. He was nominated as the Man of the Year by the Ottawa Citizen. I can't remember when that was, probably the late 60s or so. But he really loved Chelsea. He would take me on trips to Kingsmere. We would go for walks down Meech Lake Road, right up to the Prime Minister's door in those days. You know, you can't do that now, but in those days you could walk right up, knock on the door, which is what he did, and we would sit there and talk to Prime Minister Trudeau. He was very renowned for being a giant slalom, a slalom skier, cross country, and ski jumping. And a lot of his activities around here were at Camp Fortune. I don't know if Peter Suderman's here tonight, but Peter was responsible for getting my grandfather nominated here. But my mother, who passed away sadly about a year ago, had worked on this project for years. And then a friend of the family finished things off the last year or so, Sharon Smith. If my mother were here tonight, she would be so happy. And my grandfather would probably talk to every one of you folks throughout the evening just for being here. And for our family, I can tell you, this means an awful lot. And if my grandmother were here, she'd end off by saying, "Grandad, this bud's for you." And I don't know where that statement comes from, but thank you from the family, for everybody for being here this evening. It was nice to meet you all.
Okay, Vince, this bud's for you. You got a plan?
Okay, follow the